prevention. And specifically today, I want to talk to you all about a mini grant opportunity that we have for businesses, schools, municipalities, kind of anything you can think of to work on tobacco policy. So we partner with a lot of people to work on improving tobacco policies. They kind of vary a lot across different settings, but the general ideas are, reducing exposure to secondhand smoke, promoting quit resources, that kind of thing. Kara, am I able to share my screen?
Yes, I will open that up right now. And if you have a link to the grant application and you'd stick that in the chat, you can do that, or I can do that, however we want to.
Great. Yes, I will do that as soon as I'm done. It is up on our website. There is kind of a landing page there. And if anyone's interested, I also can email you the Word document directly as well.
Oh,
yes, perfect.
Okay, great.
So, and I'll send these out to my emails in here. This is just kind of a brief overview. It's a pretty short application. There's just like 6 questions. They're mostly yes or no, and then one kind of descriptive questions. There's a short budget form area, and then a partnership form, which just asks basically what you're interested in partnering with us on exactly. The mini grants are available between $100 and $1,000 depending on your needs. Usually, smaller businesses and entities apply for like 100 to 300. The higher ranges would generally be more for like a town or a school or something like that, but it totally depends on, what you're looking to do. I can work with you to help you fill out the application. We can go, through the whole thing together and discuss, what all of this means and what you individually would want to do. Generally, the funds can be spent on time that's spent working on creating the policy and implementing it. If you're interested in kind of custom signage for your workplace, the funds can be used for that, and potentially anything else related to policy implementation. But again, something we could discuss, what you're interested in doing. In order to be eligible for the mini grants, the policy you would work with us on does have to meet model requirements. And we have a lot of templates in our workplace toolkit. I use the workplace toolkit as an example because I know we have a lot of businesses here, but we do have toolkits for other kind of settings as well. But we do have a lot of templates that's supposed to be policy templates, not signage. Sorry about that. So there's 3 different levels. There's the one that kind of meets basic state law, and then 2 that, exceed the state law. All workplaces are required to have a written tobacco policy. So there's information about that in there. And any businesses, any people that work with us and adopt a model policy are eligible for free signage. So there's some examples here on the screen. The policy can include marijuana, or it doesn't have to. That's we can work with you to include that, but it's not required. And then also, if you have any vehicles, we have these kind of window clings that can go on vehicles as well. So there's lots of signage options. And again, these aren't the only ones. And if you applied for the mini grant, you could apply for funds for custom signage if you were interested in doing that. And we also have lots of resources we can provide, educational resources about different tobacco products. And also lots of resources about the Maine Quit Link, which is the service in Maine that offers, they have phone counseling, web coaching, lots of other
Postal Interiors, can I help you?
Services for people who are interested in quitting. So we can provide lots of information about that as well. The deadline for this round of mini grants is December 15th. We do plan on having another round in 2021. But this is all kind of available until our funding runs out. It is a first come, first serve process, not a competitive process. So we don't wait until December 15th to review all the applications. We review them as they come in. So basically there's always going to be the most funding available, the earliest. So like I said, we do anticipate having another round in 2021, but the funds might be more limited then. So this is kind of the basic information I wanted to share with you. I also asked John if he would be willing to just speak a little bit about this. He worked with us recently on a policy. So John, if you just want to share kind of what your experience was from the business side, that'd be really great.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Yeah, we got in touch several months ago about this mini grant, and it was really straightforward, simple process. The kind of 3 tiers of policy level that you had were really super helpful to look through and actually see which, reading through all the bullet points, seeing which ones could feasibly work in our space, like for our outdoor environment, and to really think kind of strategically about not just, creating a policy for the sake of creating a policy, but utilizing the free signs that were included, and sort of strategic policy as a way to really like have a conversation with our staff about what the policy means for us. So it was really helpful. The application was painless, and Sarah was really great to communicate with throughout the whole process.
Awesome. Thanks, John. And you were great to work with as well. We had a really great time working with you, and we were super excited to partner with you. And I didn't mention before, we have the template policy language, but we can work with individual businesses, entities to modify that language to fit your specific space. So like I said, there are kind of requirements of what are best practices to include in a policy that need to be in there to be eligible for the mini grant for the free signage, but we can work with you, like we worked with John, to add some specific language about their individual space to make it very clear what exactly the policy is saying. So we can work with you to do that kind of thing as well. It's not like you just have to adopt the template as is, and that's the only option. And if you have an existing policy, we can work with you to modify that and kind of build from that as opposed to starting from scratch. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer those. I'll put my email and a link to the page on our Healthy Acadia's website where the application is, and feel free to reach out anytime.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate you putting forth this opportunity to all of the downtown businesses and sort of letting other people, there are some key folks on here who interface with a larger net that will also be able to help spread the word. So thank you so much. I can see some people shaking their heads. So thank you so much, Sarah, for coming on here. And please, if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or just sort of speak up now if you have specific questions about this, this one opportunity. And let me just take a look at the
And thanks so much for the time, Kara. And if there are people that want to send stuff out to other, businesses or people that they know, let me know. I'm happy to kind of put something together for you that you can then just send out, copy and paste, or, a document or something that you can send out to people.
Excellent. Yeah, we probably, maybe we should figure out a way. I'm always hesitant to do paper and things like that, but maybe if there's something specific to this, we can get this in a physical paper form to all of the downtown businesses who aren't able to join us. Maybe that would be a good sort of next step and follow up for this. So we can work.
Yeah, we could definitely do that.
Excellent.
Sounds great. Thanks, Kara.
Yeah, thank you so much. Moving on to our next agenda item, we have Shannon Byers, who is our downtown business counselor. She works in tandem with SBDC and CEI, and she's on here to talk about another grant opportunity. So,
awesome, thanks, Cara. So there's actually 3 different ones that I just wanted to mention, and I'll put the information in the chat. The first one, and Cara, if I can share my screen, yeah. I'll just share this so you guys can see it. The first one's called Tastemakers, and the application just opened this week, and this is geared towards food businesses, and it's a opportunity to participate in some classes and then get access to some grant funds as part of being a participant. So this one is, applications are due by December 21st, and then you'll be notified in January, and then the project. So this one is really, you have to have a project kind of ready to go, but the project has to be completed by August 2021. And there's up to, I believe, $20,000 funding that they can offer each of the businesses. It's a very small cohort. If you get selected, there's 5 to 7 companies that can participate. And you can see information on here about the types of projects that they'll fund as part of that program. So I pass it along. You have to be, of course, a Maine-based business, and you have to be sourcing ingredients from agricultural, aquaculture, fisheries in Maine. And then there's some more details there. So this is the second year that we've run this program, and just a great opportunity for any food-related businesses. The next one is a grant that also opened this week, and this is part of the CARES Act funding. And this one is specifically for agricultural or farmer-based businesses. And I just talked to the person that's heading it up, and it's not just people growing food. It could be somebody that's growing flowers, somebody that's growing hay or grains, Christmas trees. If they are raising goats to get the goat's milk to then make soap, they would apply or could apply. And it's a little bit of an interesting grant program because it's going to be a reimbursement for funds that you've already spent on something related to e-commerce because of COVID. It's a little bit specific, but if the business had to pivot because of COVID and had to go build a website or had to do, add an e-commerce site, it would cover costs associated with that. Now, she said it also includes merchant fees. So if all of a sudden all of your business is coming online, you're paying all these merchant fees, you can get reimbursed for those. So you have to have the receipt, you submit the receipt, and you can be reimbursed up to $5,000. And I've been assured the application is super simple. And Jen is fantastic. She walks you through it. So there's information on our website. I'll put this link again into the chat. And this one closes on, I think, December 18th. And it's first come, first serve. So if the money runs out, that's the end of it. We have, I think, $500,000 to give out for that program. So I think there's a pretty good amount. The third one that I wanted to mention, and it's on the same page as this farmer e-commerce one. If you scroll down, and this is a grant we had a few months ago called the Micro Enterprise Grant Program. If you guys remember, this was for low to moderate income business owners. On here, it's showing it's closed. We're almost out of funds, but we're working through our wait list right now. It's looking like we're going to be able to have 3 to 5 more grants to give. So if you know somebody or you're eligible, contact me directly and I'll get you into the queue for that one. But this is for low to moderate income, fewer than 5 employees are eligible for that one. And then I just noticed they put this on here. We're hoping that we're going to be able to offer this restaurant grant. We're hoping that we'll hear by Monday, and that's going to be grants to help restaurants survive the winter because of COVID. And sounding like that one's going to be some creativity and some flexibility with it. So more to come on that. I'll put these links in the chat so that you guys can have them. And thanks, Cara.
Thank you so much, Shannon. I appreciate you keeping us all up to date with funding opportunities, grant opportunities, and sort of being our connection to the wider statewide world of both CEI and SBDC. And also, Shannon, will you put your email in the chat as well, just so that folks, if they are in need of any sort of business help, that they're able to get in touch with you that way. And Annie Sargent just says great business funding opportunities, which is so nice to hear. Thank you, Annie. Yeah. Okay. Anybody have any questions for Shannon before we move on to our next presenter? Okay, Lainey, if you would take away the concept for downtown delivery service, sort of explaining to all of us what you have in mind. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you guys so much for having me. We are so excited to be a part of the community. I know that I've been emailing back and forth with a couple of people, but I just wanted to take this opportunity to kind of present basically the main ideas and what our goals are, what we'd like to achieve with the downtown delivery service. And then I'd actually like to open up the floor and try to get some feedback from everybody and see what people think we can do to make this work for downtown Ellsworth. So the main goal is, if we should have another shutdown, that we'd really like to do our best to sustain some local jobs and stimulate our local economy by having our front of house employees continue by driving for delivery services for the businesses here on Main Street. And that can be for any business on Main Street. We're originally thinking, food and drinks, but, if there's a way that we can make it work for everybody, then we'll happily look into that. We want to encourage as much spending for our local economy as we can, and just try to keep our employees working so that they have a steady income if we should have another shutdown. But some things that we need some input on are, insurance is something that we have to look into and make some decisions about. And I also wanted to know if other businesses would have employees who would want to be drivers potentially during a shutdown if we were to have another one. Some things that we also need to set are the boundaries of how far away we'd like to deliver and whether that's a few miles or a little bit further than that. I think that should be universal. I don't know that we should try to have too much variation with businesses on that. I think that it will ultimately be easier if we can come up with, one uniform plan for everybody. But I would really like to hear from you guys what you think of the plan and how you think we could make something like that work here in Ellsworth.
Yes, Jared, go ahead. Sorry.
I would love, this is just me personally, because I am a germaphobe that does not like going outside, especially when I see people not thinking science is a thing, which insults me as a failed, disgraced scientist. Grocery delivery. Like, if I could not have to, I love going to John Edwards. It's the only store in Ellsworth that sells food that I feel somewhat safe in. But if I didn't have to go there at all and you could just bring it to me, I mean, that is something I would pay extra for. I would also pay extra to have like beer from John Stein brought to me so that I don't have to go to John Stein to get the beer because I'm a germaphobe and is scared of the public.
I think that's a great idea. I think that grocery delivery is definitely something that we should look into adding into this service.
And I think too, you'd have a large market. I know, several elderly people who live in the region who have serious health complications. And, they tell me, they call me a lot to say how scared they are to go anywhere because of people who, I'm just going to give a full disclosure. If you don't wear a mask, I think you're un-American and unpatriotic. Done.
I think that grocery delivery would be something that would definitely benefit the community. It's definitely something we could look into. That would just mean expanding the hours in which we're delivering. So currently for margaritas, our hours are, with the new curfew that we have, we're open from 3 to 9 on weekdays, and we open a little bit earlier for lunch on the weekends. If we were to have another shutdown and we would do delivery, we would probably have our drivers working during our normal business hours. But I know that there are lots of other businesses in the area who are open a lot earlier than us. So maybe we could look into having, some people working earlier shifts to accommodate grocery delivery and delivery from Vogtown and other businesses on Main Street as well.
I have a question, and Lainey, this isn't necessarily directed to you. Actually, it's directed to sort of everyone, but specifically maybe Shannon Byers as our downtown business counselor, small business counselor, and more. Are there other communities that we know of that have had a success with this and has a structure around it that maybe we could emulate rather than having to sort of reinvent the wheel, figuring out what that structure looks like, and then from there figuring out how the tasks can be disseminated, figure out where the sort of the money would come from, and how we could sort of create this structure. Shannon, do you know of any communities that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, and I don't know of anybody that's doing it. I imagine we'll see some of this coming. You know, we're in kind of that weird area where Uber Eats and DoorDash, like it just hasn't gotten here yet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I love the idea that all the businesses collaborating on this. That restaurant grant that I mentioned, I think potentially could be used for this. I did ask, you know, could businesses pool, it's a $5,000 grant. Could like 5 businesses pool their $5,000 grant together to pay for an employee or a car or a van with heated, you know, food slots. And I think if we do get this grant, that potentially could be there. Can I just say drone? For those of you that were on the calls early on, you know, I love the idea of a drone delivering stuff, and I know it's not feasible, but I just had to say that.
I thought about that. I definitely thought about that from last spring. There was some excitement around that concept, and I share its sentiment. I think it's a great idea. I guess
we'd be at HCPC, we'd be more than happy to give you a GIS optimized delivery route with remote, you know, sensing navigation. You know, we have those capabilities, and I love playing with GIS.
Well, one thing I know that I can offer as since Heart of Ellsworth is part of the National Main Street Network, I can start to do some research on this concept inside the portal where all the other executive directors around the country, you know, go to either ask questions or to talk about programs or just anything that's facing downtowns. There's bound to be something on there. So I might be able to connect with another executive director out in the rest of the country that may have some sort of system for this. So that's one way that I know that Heart of Ellsworth can help. Are there any other folks on here that have ideas or questions or thoughts about this?
Yeah, just in terms of the demand for it, I can say that Fogtown did it a lot last winter and are planning to re-up our delivery. And it's feasible and it's like potentially profitable. That said, we're like probably not doing it as efficiently as we could, or as efficiently as we could as like a community of sellers. So Lainey, thanks for like putting the energy back into it, because I know me for one, probably a lot of us like lost a lot of momentum after trying to figure this out months and months ago. So there is a lot of demand for it. I think people are like really excited to get deliveries, you know. Their personal health obviously is important, but that aside, I think even COVID aside, people are excited about the option for getting local right to their door. So it's something that there is a demand for.
Well, thanks, John, for sharing your experience and for letting us know that there is a demand. And clearly, Lainey, you know, it would seem that you would be very in touch with the demand. I'm sure you hear it from customers every day. So
You.
I bet you do.
I just wanted to jump in. As a resident who lives in what I call almost Otis, right on that edge where people don't think it's Ellsworth. I wonder if this works out, if there might be a way when you're thinking about the radius, because Ellsworth is so big, and you know, geographically that can be a lot to try to serve Ellsworth geographically. Maybe picking a couple spots that are sort of halfway between town and way out in those outskirts as like drop-off points, so people don't have to come all the way into town. I mean, I don't mind coming into town, certainly, but it may be a way to reach some people who, you know, like the neighbor could go and grab for a couple people or something like that. So maybe something to think about. Like, I think a good example would be that big parking lot at the end of 180 by the industrial park where everybody sort of does some carpooling and stuff. Like that might be a good spot. as a point to not have to go all the way to almost Otis. So
I think that's a great idea. And I actually mentioned that, and I sent out a last email. And I was thinking, you know, there are ways that we could also service Trenton and Surrey and Dedham. And, you know, there's not a lot of restaurants and I guess places to eat in smaller towns like that.
Right.
We have the luxury of having a huge community here with a lot of different wonderful restaurants and hometown businesses that people want to support, but it's hard right now. And I think that if we could find a way to make that work for a lot of people, then people will definitely take to it. I think that we could definitely make it successful.
Yeah. And I just want to say thank you very much for putting all this energy into it. It's very exciting.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Are there any other thoughts or questions? Does anyone have anything that they think that might be helpful with the behind the scenes planning for us to get to the next phase?
I would say actually research what Korea does. The country of Korea has amazing delivery for anything and everything. And something that I really miss about living in Seoul is getting comfort food at 3 a.m. for just because. And so I think if you look, I mean, yes, they have the capacity with, you know, a certain, you know, very high population density and a very active sort of lifestyle around delivery culture. But I think that they would offer some good like lessons that you could import and apply even in Ellsworth. And I'm more than willing to, you know, help you with this because a huge bulk of my graduate research was on motorized delivery services and optimization in urban networks. So I'm actually very serious when I say I can help you like analyze patterns of delivery and think about vehicles to do this efficiently and effectively. And I like getting things delivered to me. So I'm more than happy. And are you the margaritas Reeds? Like you're the one that runs that Mexican restaurant?
Yes.
Okay, I want you to bring the burritos to me. Thank you.
No, perfect. Thank you so much, Jared. I definitely will reach out to you about that.
I also would be supportive of a mobile margarita van, just saying.
Burritos on wheels.
Oh, looks like we have a lot of thumbs up on that one. All right. Well, Lainey, thank you so much for taking your time to organize yourself ahead of time and all of the emails that you sent. I mean, this is exactly the type of sort of creative, cooperative type of projects that Heart of Ellsworth is all about, that are really sort of fueling our downtown and kind of tying us all together, even though we can't be together. So thank you so much. And yeah, let's see what we can find out, and we'll do some research. I'm happy to help you behind the scenes with that. So.
Perfect. And thank you guys so much for listening to me and being so cooperative with this. I look forward to taking the next step with everybody.
Yeah, and at this time, what I want to do, since it's 12:33, it seems like maybe there might be some other ideas that are out there, or some other discussion, or just questions about general sort of downtown things, or maybe resources that people want to share. So I just want to open the floor to that, and to let some folks chime in if they have a couple of things that they are interested in talking about. Okay. Annie, do you have any updates from Ellsworth Adult Ed that you can share with us?
Right now we're in the process of doing our planning for next semester. And one of the priorities, sort of one of my leadership priorities, is promoting economic development in Ellsworth. And I have been giving presentations about that to different organizations. But if anybody in this group wants to offer a workshop through our program on Zoom, whether it's, you know, sharing a cooking thing from margaritas, or any kind of service of any kind, it's a great way to get in the community. So if anybody's interested, I'll put my information in the chat. We also have a program that is a micro credential. I think I mentioned it a couple of months ago, and I haven't been involved for a while. I apologize. But it's for basically very basic IT, sort of the first level of IT. And this fall and early winter, it would be a work readiness program and a program called IC3, which is sort of the basics of computers. And then in the spring, it would be CompTIA A+ certification, as well as some applied learning with local employers. So if anybody is interested in learning more about that, it's a collaboration with the Lumina Foundation and the University of Maine system. And so if you successfully participate in all of those programs, you're eligible to earn the computer support specialist micro credential and up to 9 credits for the at the University of Maine. And at this point, there is no cost to the program if you're income eligible, but it is open to the public. So if you're interested in learning more about that, reach out to me and I'll put my information in the chat. I think that's it for now.
Well, thank you, Annie. Really appreciate you giving us an update. And I have noticed from time to time in the past, folks have done, business owners have done some workshops and some classes through adult ed, and it definitely is a way to sort of showcase your business in a very different way. So it's definitely one aspect of how that local resource can work for you. So. We have a few, here we go, a couple of things in the chat. Tom Beal says, Annie, let me know about graduates. I think Tom at Mac Revival might be interested in speaking to some new graduates, Annie. Excellent. All right.
Cara,
Yeah,
Sonia, I'd love to spend just a second talking about Shop Local Ellsworth.
excellent. Thank you so much.
Great. Hey, everybody. I'm Sonia Conley, and we have started up an initiative called Shop Local Ellsworth. And you can find that. Thank you, Cara, for putting it into your email. So you can find the Facebook event in her email. And also the city of Ellsworth has done such a great job. They created a page devoted to Shop Local Ellsworth. So that can give you some more information. And there's a little bit of a video as well as some written information for you. And really the bottom line for what we want to accomplish is education and inspiration. We want our community to know how important shopping local is, especially right now. So a lot of what we're going to do is local storytelling. So we want, if you know of anyone or if you'd like to be involved, we want to talk to people who are passionate about shopping local, and we want to be able to tell their story so their neighbors can hear, so we can start the conversation about why it's so important to shop local and how to do it safely. So thank you. And I'll put my email in the chat so you can reach out to me.
Thank you, Sonia. And yesterday we were working on brainstorming some folks that might be great spokespeople. And for some reason or another in our culture, it's always easier to come up with women that are comfortable, but we need a few good men to speak up as well. So if anyone is interested in talking about why they're passionate about shopping local and keeping our community vibrant with our local businesses, please feel free to send an email to Sonia or me, and I can connect you with Sonia, however is easiest for you. Thank you, Sonia, for putting your email in there. That's great. And thanks for speaking up about that. All right, are there any other updates from anyone else? Oh, it looks like Jared wants to update us. Please, Jared.
This is actually a question that I'd like to put to Heart of Ellsworth and downtown businesses in Ellsworth. Right now, I'm wrapping up a grant application for the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Rural Technical Assistance and Teaching grant, which would be tasking HCPC1 with, our household hazardous waste collection program, which we ran in Hancock County. But a big component of it for this year is to actually look at sustainable alternatives for handling food wastes and composting. And it would also allow me to engage with the Green Plan more in providing technical assistance there as well. And so I just didn't know if this is something that Heart of Ellsworth and businesses and community groups would be interested in participating in. And if you'd like me to include you in, the language of the application as potential partners. And so this would be, working with businesses, particularly I think restaurants, on, sustainable ways to handle food waste and other food byproduct waste. And especially in this time where the recycling market has really crashed, it's very hard to get rid of a lot of what is considered a household hazardous waste. And I think too, locally we could be reducing the amount that goes into our transfer stations, or some of it goes to a landfill in New Brunswick, through local measures, and that's what this would be about. And so it's just if this group would be interested. And another thing that I have in the pipeline is Ann Ball and I are going to be talking sometime this week, well, not this week, next week, regarding really the idea of creating large municipalities in their planning departments tend to have like a local, like a design office, the ability to provide, urban heritage, any sort of technical advice as it relates to design guidelines and the built environment for, community members and businesses. I'm envisioning wanting to create a design extension office to be able to provide, heritage and historic preservation planning for all of Hancock County. I just didn't know if this is something too that business owners and Heart of Ellsworth as a sort of umbrella group for business owners would be a service that would be, interested in and accessing if there is a need in the communities for such a technical assistance, as it would pertain to maybe facade, building, signage, and maybe even go down into ideas around branding and identity as well. So that's just what HCPC has right now, and it's sort of an open invitation if you guys want to be involved.
Jared, I think that the composting and along with the hazardous waste, we have a meeting next week for the Green Plan on Monday, and I'm going to see if either you can come and do a mini presentation, or if the agenda is really full, then maybe I'll get a couple of sentences from you and maybe one or two spots that folks can go to learn more information. But I would think that the Green Plan would be very excited about the concept of being involved in that. And I would say that definitely Heart of Ellsworth would be as well, because I can see sort of a connection to these downtown restaurants that have sort of compost waste. They're being able to, just the same as, sort of that co-op idea of delivery service. I think there's a lot of possibilities here. So I would say that makes a ton of sense. And as far as the cultural heritage piece that you just spoke about, and of course, Ann Ball, who is our program officer for the main downtown center, I would say that also fits in very perfect with Heart of Ellsworth Bailiwick. The cider and cheese event that we just finished up is all about heritage and all about sort of celebrating Ellsworth's history and making the connections between the past and the present, and trying to use our history to tell our story and use that as the concept of placemaking and authentically telling Ellsworth's story. So I would say, again, both things seem totally in line with what Heart of Ellsworth is trying to do. So thank you. And if anyone else, I also open the floor, please. Anyone else who has ideas or wants to respond to Jared, please go ahead. Oh, it looks like John at Fogtown is interested in the food waste and other programs. So yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah, and please feel free to, use Heart of Ellsworth. I know that the turnaround sometimes on these grant applications are pretty quick. So I think that it's okay to say to use, if it helps your narrative, your grant narrative, please feel free to use Heart of Ellsworth in that narrative.
Cara, if I may, I just had a quick update that I wanted to bring to your group regarding the parade that's currently scheduled for the 5th, and the reason is part of the precautionary measures that we're going to put into place for COVID. We're considering some limiting some parking on Main Street, particularly Lower Main Street, the morning of the parade. So the reasoning behind that is it would allow us more space to allow folks to spread out when they come to Main Street in groups, specifically in family cohorts. So we would be coning off some parking spaces, either one side, maybe just one side of the road or both sides of the road the morning of, to prevent people from parking in there. We may leave one side open to allow people to park who may want to watch the parade from their vehicle. The parade route, is, as most of you probably know, has been extended to start at the Main Coast Mall and run all the way through State Street. So folks will be able to park along High Street and State Street, and also some parking lots along Main Street in order to view the parade from vehicles if they so choose. But we still anticipate that we'll have some folks come to Main Street. So we're going to have a pretty significant police presence on Main Street in order to facilitate spacing between groups. And obviously masks will be a priority both for parade viewers and participants as well. Just kind of as an update, last count, there were at least 12 floats that had signed up for the parade. So we're watching the situation with COVID very carefully to make sure that we're all confident that we'll be able to have the parade in a safe manner that's not going to put the community at undue risk. And certainly as any additional changes come in from the governor, we'll certainly, that may end up resulting in cancellation if she were to put in restrictions that prevent us from being able to do what we have in mind. So I just want to let you know that kind of update, and also just to give you kind of a heads up for the downtown merchants that day there may be some interruption in parking along Main Street.
Glenn, do you anticipate yet which side of Water Street and which side of State Street and of course Main Street that you'll cone off? Do you know yet which side, or are you going to? We wouldn't impact State. We wouldn't impact State or Water. Because we would leave that parking available. It would just be Main Street. Okay. So it would be just from Flexit down to the lower light and from Margaritas down to the lower light. So we would put temporary no parking out there in the early morning hours, and as soon as the parade is through, then we would lift the temporary parking ban. Again, I think it's likely we'll probably just do one side rather than both, so folks can have access to parking on Main Street. And there's always exceptions. We figured early morning on a Saturday, really the only two businesses that would be significantly impacted would be really restaurants. The main Flexit, but they have a significant parking lot out back, and then also Riverside Cafe. I think those are the only two Main Street businesses that really offer breakfast. So, and we would be out of there, shortly after, hopefully by like 11:30. So that's kind of the thought right now. And again, probably impacting just one side of Main Street. Okay, great. Thank you for that update. The other thing is too, is that the Ellsworth Farmers Market last weekend is this weekend, so that won't be affected and part of the mix at all either. So that's another fortunate thing. And John Edwards does do a significant amount of business, usually in the morning, because people do go in there for coffee and pastries as well. So I think you're right. There's really only 3, maybe max 4 that would be affected by the parking ban. So thank you for the update. Thank you very much. Yes, Lori.
Hi, so I am like every parade or anything that happens downtown, our parking lot fills up, which is, you know, it's okay, that's just part of it. But how are you going to deal with people if they do come and they do crowd and they're not masked? I mean, I'm afraid it's going to be a super spreader here. And I mean, what is the police department or the city going to do if they're just packed in all together with no masks?
Glenn, can I jump in a little bit from the parade committee? That's what we talked about, and that's why we worked with Glenn in particular with the police. Is people will be asked to mask. It is an executive order, and the police have the right to mandate that. And if people are not going to comply, they will be asked to leave the area. And one of the reasons to clear the street a little bit, at least at one side, is so that the police have a really good line of sight that they can go up to groups and keep people in cohorts, and then, you know, at least minimum of 6 feet, more if possible, and then they can see about the masking. And one of the things we hadn't, I'm just thinking about it now, is that we could even have masks available that could be handed out by the police if they identify somebody without it. So that's another thing. With the committee's really trying to identify all of the potential issues. So the point you raised is great, and we want more discussion, and it's an ongoing process of trying to identify all the potential risks so that we can solve the risks to make it a safe event. And so those are some of the things. So your point is well taken, but I think if we put those things in place, that we'll be able to keep a safe event and keep people distant and masked.
Yeah, I would just add to Dale's comments that's again why we'll have a significant presence on the main street, specifically for mask and distancing enforcement. And you know, we're not going to drag people off to jail. That's certainly not the intent, and certainly not you know, what is likely to happen. But we will politely ask people if they flat out refuse to wear a mask, that they just don't stay for the parade, or go to their vehicle and move their vehicle to a location where they can view from inside their vehicle. So, you know, we'll do our best to make sure that you know, folks are abiding by the governor's orders, and as Dale said, we do have the governor's orders as a you know, as sort of our authority to make people either comply or not participate and not be present for the parade, to ensure that it doesn't turn into a super spreader, as you indicated. So. Also, just one other thing too, we just real quick, we're also planning to, and I'm in the process of looking into ways to be able to broadcast it live. And someone mentioned earlier in this meeting about a drone, and that's probably the avenue that we'll take. And so as soon as we have confirmation on that, we'll push that information out to folks. So you know, many folks can stay right at home and be able to watch the parade as well. So that is just another again component that we're working on to try to pull off this event and have it be safe and be you know, exciting and fun event for all folks in our community.
Are there any other questions that pertain to the parade topic, or anything else that has to do citywide, downtown wide? Okay, if we don't have any more questions, we do have one more comment, and I'm going to call on Sarah Joy Chaples. Chaples, if you have a second.
Yeah.
Thank
Great,
you.
thanks, Cara. So I just wanted to let you folks know, and you've heard me talk a little bit about it before, we are continuing to get really positive feedback about our website development or online presence for businesses. We have extended the program with GoDaddy. They are getting a tremendous response and seeing a need for businesses who do not currently have a presence online, or who have a very minimal presence, maybe social media, but not a website, or vice versa. This is open to any business who wants to expand their online presence. And we are building out our team's technical assistance capacity for people who feel a little hesitant to take a self-paced class. The requirement is to take 3 classes, and then you have access to a package of products from GoDaddy, whether you like them or not. You know, they're the ones who are offering this, and I think maybe it would work really well for your downtown effort around a delivery system, particularly getting product knowledge out there in front of customers who maybe aren't as familiar with what services or products or whatever might be on your list of offerings. So I'll put the link in the chat, and if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that, Sarah Joy. That is a nice way to sort of connect some of the different projects that we've talked about today, and using that resource might be a great way for Lainey to sort of start to step into some of this. And, you know, again, Lainey, Heart of Ellsworth is happy to do what we can to support this project, you know, wherever it seems that we're able to fit in, and wherever it is that our organization has the bandwidth to be able to help. So Sarah Joy, thank you for that. All right, if there are no other comments, I'm just going to check the chat. In the interest of ending on time, it looks like we have about 3 more minutes. So if anyone has anything else that they want to bring up, feel free to do so now, or we can also end a little early. And this, just to let you folks know, this recording will be up on our YouTube page. We'll get it uploaded this afternoon. So feel free to let folks know who didn't make the call today that they can go in and watch it if they like.
I just want to circle back to the parade for a minute. And I'm wondering, have you guys considered, like, if you're going to have a drone, film it, which would be great because people can watch it at home in their PJs if they want. The little kids don't have to come out. Could you do the parade as sort of drive-by style, like at the elementary school or the high school, where the floats are stationary and the cars drive by? Just
Well, the committee that assembled looked at that as a potential option. And what it kept coming back to for the committee was to try to create as normal an event as possible, to provide the opportunity for the same experience. And what has been the goal is to say, okay, what are the issues? And can we solve each one of those issues that would lead to the safety piece? So that's really where it's been, and that's been that focus. So I certainly encourage, and you can email me if you have specific concerns about safety, anyone, to put that forward so that the committee can look at it. Because if we find that there's a safety issue that can't be resolved, or an executive order that can't be achieved, then the parade would be canceled, and the default could actually do what you're saying, especially if those floats are developed. To date, the committee feels like they've addressed all of the particular issues at this point. But that doesn't mean that we've exhausted it. So
yeah,
we certainly want to hear that and try to move in that direction.
okay.
Well, thank you all for being on here today and taking time out of your day and contributing. I think we heard from almost everybody on the call today, which is really, really awesome. having folks participate is sort of the name of the game, and it's really hard over Zoom these days, but I feel like people are starting to get more used to it. So again, thank you so much, everyone, for being on here, and have a great weekend, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks.
Thanks.